Hello everyone, Amy R here with Prairie Paper and Ink. I'm still working away on some Valentine cards. I have so many different Valentine sort of theme or love theme things. They're just images and whatnot that will work for Valentine cards, which of course includes this adorable little mini Lawn Fawn set. This is the RAR stamp set that I had shown forever ago in a whole video. I've literally had it sitting on my desk now for weeks. So I stamped out the little dinosaur from the set twice, as well as the little bow and the hearts and whatnot, onto some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I used MFT's Extreme Black ink because the cardstock and this ink are all Copic friendly. And then I am coloring these in with my Copic markers. So I have the colors listed here on the screen that I used. So for my first little dinosaur, I went with pinks. So I did kind of a lighter pink for his little body, and then I used these brighter pinks to add to, I guess you'd call them the spines. And then I added like some dot detail to the little dinosaur just to give it that little bit of texture. And then I didn't like how the base pink looked. I wanted some lighter areas, so I went over that with my colorless blender. And then I started just dotting the colorless blender, so it gives it that really fun, kind of dotty, textured look. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with the second dinosaur, but this time I'm going to do him in greens and some blue-green. I thought it'd be kind of fun just to do different little color combos. So I went along, did the exact same thing, went from darkest to lightest, and coloring this one. And this one I liked a little better, just the difference in the greens was a little bit greater. That's what I should have done with the pinks. But that's where the colorless blender can always come in. So same thing, went in, added the color, and then started adding in the little dots with the blue-greens, and then I'm going to go in with that colorless blender and just start dabbing that all over the image, and the color sponge basically just presses the color up, or pushes the color away. So after I got both my little dinosaurs done, I decided to color the little bows and the hearts just in red. So I started with my R29, and then I blended that together with my R24, so just super quick and easy. And after I did that, I pulled out my little white gel pen and just used that to add more dots to the areas where I had added the dots originally, as well as little highlights and whatnot. I've had a lot of people asking me to do a separate video showing like where I add highlights. Honestly, I don't really think about it. I might down the road maybe do a separate video, but I try to add highlights to the areas where it's the lightest, where the light would be hitting the images, but at the same time, I don't really follow those rules half the time. I just add in some highlights. With these, I'm adding in dots. I added little white dots to their eyes, and I really didn't like how that turned out, but I'm going to fix that in a minute. And then off camera, I ended up stamping the little RAR speech bubble. So I've got my coordinating dies here, and then making up my sandwich stack so I can run that through my little Gemini Junior and die cut all of these images with their coordinating dies. So I just tape everything in place with washi tape to hold it in place, and I have them face down on the cutting plate, and then I just flip everything over to run it through the way it's meant to be run through the Gemini. So after I got everything die cut, I took my black glaze pen and went over the eyes to cover that white gel, and I liked that much better. The white just made it look weird. So I added that, and then I'm going to let that dry. And then for the actual cards, I decided to make little heart-shaped cards. So I have some Lawn Fawn cardstock here. This is in raspberry. And I trimmed down the end of the cardstock that would accommodate this largest heart die from the Lawn Fawn outside in stitched heart stackables. And then I scored it, and I'm just going to trim off the bottom piece there. So I've got this little card that's roughly like 4.5 inches wide by a little over 4 inches tall, roughly. It just needs to be big enough for this heart die cut. And then I'm going to line up this die so that the fold line is just shy of the top of this heart here. You can see where the two little cut lines kind of pop up. I want it just below that. So once I have that lined up, I can tape my die into place, and I'm going to run this again through my Gemini. Now this is cutting through 2 layers of heavyweight cardstock. Lawn Fawn's cardstock is it's nice, I really like it. So I'm going to add the little metal shim that came with my Gemini machine. They recommend it differently. They put the metal shim underneath the cutting surface. I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that yet. So I just added the metal shim. I ended up having to run this through my machine twice, and then it cut through both layers, and you can see now I've got this fun little heart-shaped card. So I'm going to set that aside, and I used the Lacy Heart Stackables Lawn Cuts die as well, and the largest one for that, they layer together perfectly. And then I'd used, again, that outside-in stitched heart. And I die cut some of Lawn Fawn's Watercolor Wishes, the blue paper, and I'd also die cut some craft cardstock with the heart. And then I used the Simple Stitch Hillside borders to get that nice curved edge with the stitching, just so that everything's consistent. And then I decided to add some little, just more dots with some brown Copic markers and my white gel pen, since I was kind of thinking like sand, and it just gave a little texture, plus it just gave some grounding for my images to stand on. So I added all of that, and now I'm going to start assembling my card. So I'd pulled out the Palm Trees Lawn Fawn dies, and I die cut those from some more Lawn Fawn cardstock. So my card base is raspberry cardstock, and then I used guava and ballet slippers for the palm trees there. So I adhered that watercolor, or the sky, to the top of the heart, and then I adhered this craft cardstock to the bottom area, and then I'm just going to start adhering everything else, these little pieces for the palm trees, to create my scene. And this whole like section of my video and filming and putting this card together, it was pretty seamless. Like, it's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. This time I actually do know what I'm doing, because I made the second card with the green one off camera, just fiddling and figuring it all out. And then it's amazing how much faster the creating and the filming and everything goes when I already know what I'm doing. I decided just to do the same thing. So I adhered my little palm trees in place, and then I took my white gel pen again and just added some little like highlights and whatnot to these trees, just to give them a little something, since they're just flat cardstock. And then for the little dinosaur and the hearts and the speech bubble, I'm popping all those up with some foam tape just to give it some extra dimension. And then the little tiny bow for this one, I'm going to add some adhesive and adhere it to the top of her head, because that's just super cute. And for the inside of the actual little heart-shaped card, I'm going to stamp the sentiments that come with the RAR stamp set. So I ink those up with that same black ink, and it says RAR means I love you in dinosaur. So now I've got my little heart-shaped card, and I'm going to apply adhesive to the front of it, and I'm going to adhere this to the one that I created the scene on. So now I have this fun heart-shaped card they're roughly 4 1/4 inches by a little over 4. So ones like this, I would put this in a standard A2 sized envelope. If you had a square envelope, that would work, but that'd just be what I would do. So as finishing little touches, I added some Nouveau Crystal Glaze to the hearts and to little spine areas on the dinosaur. And then I pulled out my white gloss Nouveau drops, just to add a few of those for a bit more, dimension and shine. And that finished off this card. So like I said, I did the other card very similar. The only difference was for the base of that one, I used peacock cardstock from Lawn Fawn. So these were so much fun, and these images are so cute. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post with links to all the supplies I use, so you can check that out if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!